Okay, so again, welcome to the webinar covering the sales contest that Pulse is very happy to host again in May. We're following up on the success we had with the February Sales Blitz contest. We got a lot of positive feedback, learned of a lot of great success stories. I think it's fair to say that the results both exceeded our expectations as to what was possible during a contest, as well as many of the publications. A lot of good things came out of it, and we're hoping to, incorporate some of the ideas we had, as well as some great ideas we had from clients who participated in making the next contest even better. So that's mostly what I'm going to be covering today. So the first thing is, with the contest that we'll be launching Monday, May 15th, there'll be around 100 newspapers participating, about the same as last time. The total cash prizes should be at least $8,000. That's basically what we've been able, the contributions so far. We're putting all of that plus some Pulse money into the cash prizes. As I mentioned, it'll be starting May 15th and run through the evening of Friday, May 28th. Question that did come up last time is, when did the contest officially end? What time Friday? Basically, it'll be midnight because we'll be running the results, for the entire day. Every day you'll be receiving a email update. This will be a new reformatted, better email update than the emails we sent last time. It's going to give you a little bit more detail. And also pay attention to those email updates, because one of the great things that's going to come out of this contest, the programming we've done, is you're going to have the ability, if you choose, to host your own contest using the same criteria, format, and those daily emails. Okay, so one of the primary changes that we did this time over last time is change the scoring for the Pulse points. Partially, that was just because what we noticed in how people were accumulating a lot of points, and also feedback that from both salespeople and managers, is they wanted to level the playing field a little bit so that it wasn't just about creating presentations, creating 2,000 presentations or 500 presentations, that the focus was more on actually presenting those presentations and getting a sale, getting a contract signed. So to reflect that, before we had 1 point for creating a presentation, it will now be 0. You'll still get 5 points for making the presentation, actually presenting it to a business. And we're going to try to define what that means a little bit better. But basically, what we call a presentation is actually some meaningful interaction with the prospect, meaning if it was emailed, that you reviewed the information with the prospect online or over the phone, or you actually presented the material in person. It's not just simply emailing it out, to dozens of people. The next point is making the sale. Before it was 10 points for any recorded sale. This time it's going to be 10 for what's recorded as a new sale, and 5 points for renewals. That's just to put more weight on getting new business, past advertisers, getting people under contract, not simply recording sales that may have happened anyway. But even with that, last time we did try to confirm that those renewals was new business, in that they, sold a bigger contract. And next is recording a teaser. We had daily prizes for recording a teaser next time, but we actually didn't give points. This time we will give points for actually sending out those teasers. And finally, recording a no will be the same. So the point structure does change. I mean, that would make a material difference in the scoring if we applied that to the February Blitz. And we think this time it should make it a little bit more interesting and competitive. How that'll be applied to the actual prizes. So right now we have $3,000. That's going to be the grand prize. That's going to be the total points based on the point system we just covered. But we're changing it. This should be actually a significant change, because this would change the entirety of the top 10 results of last time. Is we're going to multiply that by the close ratio. The thought behind that is sales managers were telling us that they wanted the focus to be actually on obviously closing, getting business, not just making a lot of presentations. So by multiplying it by the close ratio, it's going to give more weight or more points to people who focus on actually getting a contract during that 2-week period. So a simple example, 1,000 points times a 47% close ratio would turn into 470 points. Many of the people in the top 10 had low close ratios, say like 10, 15, 20%, because they had so many presentations they made. But the next prize will be $1,000 for the most contracts with a minimum of 13 plus weeks. So this will again be new business, recorded as new, not renewal, but it has to be a minimum contract 13 plus weeks. Again, putting the focus in on the kind of advertisers you want, businesses under contract. We'll have $500 still just overall points, meaning no close ratio applied, and that's just going to be based on the effort of, obviously, creating and presenting presentations. 500 for most presented, 500 for most teasers recorded, 250 for no's, and then 250 to the ad manager to do with as they wish for the best team average. And then finally, something that we turned out to be a positive was the daily prizes. This is really a way for you to keep the sales team engaged and interested in the contest on a daily basis, even if they don't feel they're in competition for the first prize. We will have $100 competition for the most in the category for that day. So probably the first week we'll focus on things like teasers, sending out teasers, making presentations, etc. And then the second week will be probably more focused in on recorded sales, as well as getting those, etc. So trying to follow a little bit of the sales process. But any one day, like we just announced, it's the most contracts for that day. Last time, it could be 2 or 3 closed sales for the day. The person would probably win that prize. So it's just a way of, getting everybody engaged for the day. There'll be a prize for teasers, for example, making sure, people send out a lot of teasers. But also, and this is something you could probably review with the sales team or remind them about every day, there will be a random drawing for $100. And that will be for anybody who basically just logs into the program that day and does any activity. It could be just creating a presentation, recording a sale, updating their reporting page, etc. Just using the program that day, they will be entered into the random drawing. So now we're just getting into the contest itself, just some ways that you can use this as a kind of a catalyst for getting the sales team out there, making presentations. And these are some ideas that we received from the last time in February. I did many interviews with both ad managers and salespeople to find out what worked for them. We turned that into a lot of, at least I think 5 or 6 best practice webinars. I'm sure some of you attended those. So just taking some of the key ideas that you can use for the May contest. So one of the ideas is just make sure you promote it a lot. Everybody's aware that the contest is happening. The date's started. Everybody's attended the sales webinars we're going to be doing Wednesday and Friday. Another key idea was just getting everybody committed, making sure the sales team's all in on this. Some publications chose to do their own prize in addition to what we're offering. So maybe you could put up a few $100s for the salesperson who records the most points, just for your team, to make sure everybody's feels like they can really win something for their efforts. Another idea I had from the manager who had the best team average was what he did was he met with his sales team every day about the contest. It could just be 5 or 10 minutes reviewing the prize for the day, the random drawing, how everybody was doing overall. Just again, reinforcing awareness. But he also worked with everybody individually, most every day, just finding out what's working for them, what's not working them, their strategy. Just a way is kind of keeping the momentum going, with the sales blitz. The process, and this was again from Phil, who had the highest team average. Some other key ideas was he really leveraged something that he was already doing for sales promotion at the time, using the contest as a catalyst for that. He was focusing both on renewals or new business. So whatever you choose to focus on might be getting non-advertisers to advertise. using it, kind of organizing sales around that blitz and keeping the motivation going. He really worked with them a lot on strategy, focusing on categories. So presenting to, say, CPAs and just making sure that every CPA in their market received a presentation. He used the prospector examples you might be seeing on Mondays that we send out, as a way to get that started. And then also kind of working with them, just kind of going line by line on past advertisers or businesses and seeing where they can make more presentations. He also used it as a way of just building accounts. Again, getting it in the database, using Google Maps, our prospecting program to identify businesses. Also, by focusing on a category, provided a lot of feedback and making better presentations specifically for that category. And we do cover that in those example videos that I'll highlight at the end of the webinar. And finally, a lot of follow-up, because a lot of the sales happen after the contest, is making sure that, since the presentations are received and they took the time to meet with those businesses, that everybody was followed up with, and either got a commitment to advertise or the business did say no. So some of the ideas that can help a salesperson, and we'll cover this on Wednesday and Friday, is having a plan for their strategy for this contest, identifying a focus. What kinds of businesses are they going to choose to target? Will it be a past advertiser list? Will it be, primarily in one category? Will it be, within a specific geographic location? Reviewing the offer, salespeople said that, they used it as a way of just kind of looking, make sure that they had the best offer for those businesses, and maybe tying in something to motivate that business to decide quickly. Since this time the close ratio is going to be a big factor, doing something to motivate that business to make a quick decision within that 2-week period would be helpful. Getting the interest first, using the teasers to really maybe send out to many businesses, and hopefully getting a reply, and finding businesses to present to, kind of pre-qualifying them. And finally, of course, using the one page as the solution, showing them the opportunity, showing them the solution is the ad package and advertising. So one of the focused ideas of the 3 main ones that I learned about was infrequent advertisers, past advertisers, businesses not under contract, focusing on a geographic area. One of the leading salespeople focused just on, parking his car and walking, door to door to the businesses. So very geographically tied together, or by business type, identifying dentist, identifying, specific categories that have a high likelihood to advertise. And the good news that from our research is that that we continue to do is that 70% of businesses say that they've never been contacted by the local newspaper. Why that's good news is because there's still a lot of potential advertisers out there, businesses, who have not received a presentation from salespeople. What's possible, if you didn't participate in the February contest or attend the webinars, just wanted to highlight one of the webinars we did with Josh was to show kind of the upper end of effort by one salesperson and one of the leaders for the contest. What he did was he actually created 550 presentations. He figured out a way to present to over 200 businesses in person. The way he did that was to make the presentations the night before for those businesses, and he would kind of cluster them together in a geographic area so he could quickly go door to door, and he would just make 5 or 10 minute presentations. He wouldn't do full presentations or show them spec ads or show them the ad campaign. He would simply show them the one-page opportunity and then follow up later with more information if they were interested in advertising. But he was able to close 77 sales in that 2-week period. That was just a 15% close ratio, but 40% was new business, new advertisers, and he had over $250,000 in new contracted advertising during that period. So one thing that would be different this time, just to again put it in perspective of the changes, he had 4,581 points during the February contest. So I recalculated that based on the new criteria of how we're allocating points and the close ratio, and his points would be closer to about 750 this time around. So what that should do is make it very competitive for any size publication, and most salespeople. Another best practice that I learned about is people were simply just using the tools that we've made available. That includes the prospecting map, identifying prospective advertisers. Teasers were used quite a bit, especially by the leading and winning salespeople. So that's a great resource. And finally, of course, the one-page presentations. As a manager, one of the things you can do is use the weekly prospect email that we send out, maybe looking at some past ones if you haven't used those categories, and sending those to salespeople as ideas about types of businesses to present to. Also, just salespeople can use the prospecting map as well, identifying businesses, just looking at the map and seeing if they really have talked to all these businesses and if there's any potential advertisers. We do have the example presentations. I believe we have about 15 plus example presentations, as well as supporting videos in the help section. Those are 10-minute webinars, recordings that John Marling's done, going over specifically how to present to that category. So for example, how to make the best sales presentation to a dentist, exactly what to say. So those would be, that's a great resource, for this contest. Teasers we mentioned. I always suggest modifying the text a little bit. We have some new research about furniture store shopping plans. Our readers will be spending over $17 million at furniture stores in the next year. I have some ideas to share so you can get your share of this planned spending. Just emailing that out to as many prospects as possible. When you're sharing the information, my favorite introduction that I learned from John that he's been using successfully is, I have some information to share that will show you that our newspaper can bring you buyers you're currently missing. If I could do that, would you take a look at or consider advertising with the publication, and then going into the one-page presentation. Using the one-page presentations, of course, you're showing them the opportunity. This could be a short presentation, or take as much time as needed. But basically, you're showing them how much your readers are going to spend, and you want to help them get that share. And consistent advertising, is the way to do that. And finally, something I just want to plug that we have coming up that we're launching just this week with some test clients is a tie-in to Metro Creative Graphics. So if you're using Metro Creative Graphics to build ads or build spec ads, we've partnered with them and we've actually integrated their programs into the ADSELLER. So when you're creating a presentation, a one-page presentation, there'll be a button now that will allow you to create a spec ad. If you then create that spec ad, it just automatically logs you into Metro Creative Graphics. You can create that ad, and that spec ad will be associated with your presentation and account. Therefore, when you're actually presenting to the business on a tablet, you'll be able to quickly show them the spec ad that you've made. In addition to that, if they want to do modifications or they want to look at the library of ads, or if you don't have a spec ad, you can also, during the presentation, click on a button and review ads with that prospect. So that's something that's going to be available to everybody very soon. If you do use Metro Creative Graphics, just send myself or John Marling an email, and we'd be happy to get you set up. There is no charge for that, as long as you're subscribing to both services. And so finally, questions? Question about the Metro. Yes, you can download the finished spec ad through Metro, and it's also it's just going to be in your Metro Creative Graphics account, so you can access it directly through them. You can download it, or you can always access it through the one-page presentation. There will be a link always in that presentation to that spec ad. All right, so if there's any questions, feedback, or ideas you have about this contest, let me know. And if you would prefer for your microphones to be unmuted, I can do that as well.